Let me show you this pre-made Carolina rig that I have. That is one of them that I made for a guy. I kind of like it. It worked pretty good. I'll show you how it works. First of all, is I made him some pre-tied, I use a lot bigger hooks than what I've got on here. Pre-tied leaders, they were longer, and an 80 pound. I put a clip on it. So this way, if this was damaged, fish swallow the hook, break off, whatever, and I use heavier hooks, but clips on it, on the ones that I made for him. You can just turn around, take the end off, put a new one on. Okay. Had the clip. You really don't need a bead with this. Although I put beads on them, you don't have to. So I had a clip on for the weight. This is a 1 ounce cannonball. Another piece of leader, which is where the cannonball slides on. Not going to be all over. And I use a more formidable swivel for him because he was fishing for bigger fish. And then I have a swivel on this end. So there's a lot of swivels. Keep up line twists. Try to keep them from getting tangled up. Being stiffer line like that and bringing the lighter line, which he was using, actually he was using like 65 pound braid. It kept this stuff from getting tangled up in here with this. And all he had to do was on his main line, he put the bead on it, the safety bead or whatever, but all he had to do was put a big clip on it. So this way, if the conditions call for him to have a fish finder rig, he can clip this on. If the conditions call for him to use a dropper rig, he can clip that on. And there's so much variability and everything on there that he could customize it for whatever fishing application he was doing. I actually also made a couple of them, so this way you can buy some hooks if you want to try a different kind of hook or something like that. I made a few of these so that there was a cross-lock snap was clipped on here, so you can put a different hook on it. Now here's the beauty of these, and this is when you buy, if you would go out and you'd buy these in a store, fishing store or something like that around the coast, you will find something similar. Not exactly the same, but something similar. Normally there's an egg sinker on here instead of this. And what it is you've got that movement so that they can take it and they can take off with it. But when they hit that one point, and you got a heavy enough lead on it, it's going to come to a screeching halt, and it's going to act like a slam, and it's going to set that hook. And it works. It works well. Normally there's a big old egg sinker on there instead of this, but I prefer to have, like I said, I prefer to have the customizability. That does that increase the possibility of entanglement? Maybe. I don't know. I've used this one a few trips. I haven't had any problem with it. And the only reason why I bring this up, I'm going to add this to the one talking about the drop shot and everything like that. I came to mind about it because I was in the process of going through the 3 rods that I used when I went fishing last. And I saw that it was on there, and it's like, oh, hey, I got to tell people about that one. But this is how you take 1 or 2 rods that you have real heavy lines on, and you can customize it for saltwater fishing for just about any kind of capability. You just change the type of leaders and things like that you have on it. If you're doing shark, you would probably want 100-pound mono. You probably wouldn't be using this rod either. But let's say you're going for small shark. This has got 12-pound test line on it. I wouldn't go with that. But let's say I had 20-pound test line on this. I'd tie a knot here, and I'd run maybe about 10 feet, 12 feet, a 30 or 40-pound test for small shark. So this way, as the shark come across, their body is very abrasive. And even fluorocarbon, except I don't like putting fluorocarbon on a reel. They will come around like this and they'll rub against that line, and they'll actually abrade that line enough that they'll break off. And they'll take off, and I'll have all your rigging plus another 6 or 8 feet of line. And man, I just don't want no fish. I don't like the idea of a fish doing that. I'd rather they bit off. He bit off on a leader. If he bites off and he's got a hook and a little bit of leader, I don't have a problem with that. Well, I do, but normally not. Especially a shark. Sharks, this stuff doesn't seem to faze them. But on the same token, I don't want them to have a whole trailer behind them. So that's the difference in shark fishing and regular fishing. The other thing about it is I can turn around now, and let's say I have, the way that this is set up, let's say the Spanish mackerel are running, and I wasn't anticipating it. I'll have a couple wire leaders. I don't have many. I got a couple wire leaders in there. I can throw a wire leader on here. Maybe pinch on a little weight, because usually they're like in the top. Throw a silver spoon on it. Put some kind of bait on it with flash, and roll it along. And now I got steel leader for TC fish. Fishing on a pier and stuff like that, especially if you're only going there with a couple of rods. Like I take 6 rods, and still there are times that I wish I'd brought a different rod. But this enables you to be able to react to what's going on quickly. Because you may have a few schools of Spanish Max come through in the morning or during a certain time. You rig up, throw out there, catch a few Spanish Max. And if you're lucky, you come up with a limit. That's like 15 of them. But you come up and you catch a few of them, and the next thing you know, somebody else has been bottom feeding, they're catching red drum on the bottom. So you're going to want to put that up, you're going to want to put a bottom rig on it, you're going to want to throw it out there for redfish. You can do it all at one rod. No muss, no fuss. Hey everybody, how y'all are? I was putting this rod together, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll show all my nice, loyal video people, or interested video YouTubers, my version of the Carolina rig. Now, this particular rig can be called a lot of names. It could be called a redfish rig. It could be called a flounder rig. There's a lot of different names for it. Now, if you're going to make it so that you're using it like a regular Carolina rig, where it's like a moving bait, then you want to go ahead and just put one of them bad boys, which is an egg sinker, on the line. Me personally, I also use this as a bottom bait, kind of like catfishing, like a catfishing rig. So I do mine a little different. This is the first option that I want to think about. If I'm tying this setup onto a rig that has a bait feeder on it, I don't want to put one of these on, because that's going to stop the beads at a certain point. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to take that line, just take off with it, and keep going. But this one isn't a bait feeder rig, and I want this to help to set the hook. And I'll show you that in a second. So we go ahead, hopefully I got it in where it's supposed to go, and we put a stop on it. And then put a bead on it. Sometimes I put a couple beads on it. Normally it's just one. Okay, and what that bead does is two things. One, if I got a real long leader on it, get in a little hurry or something like that, I don't want to reel it into the tip, the guide tip, and get the swivel stuck in the tip, or worse yet, have it bust the tip up. So that protects that. Plus, it'll make a little bit of noise, and you're going to see how. Why? I took, and I'm going to show you what I make. Make these myself. I buy in bulk. these swivels that have this little clip on it, and I buy the big clips. Take these off, put them on the side. I use them for different things, usually for dropper rigs, for using the hooks onto, and different things like that. And then I hook the big one on the top. And the reason why this is big like that is so that it will accommodate a number of different sizes of weights, which I probably don't have a weight. So then I turn around and I put this in. Now this is also a bead. These two beads clipping together will make noise. Next thing I do is I put a swivel on it. This swivel looks little, but it's rated at 50 pounds. It's also stainless steel, and it's supposed to have ball bearings in it. I've never taken one apart to see. If it is ball bearings, they're really little, and they're pretty inexpensive. I was buying 100 of them for $6-8. So I don't mind losing them every once in a while. I got one rig that I kept rebuilding on one rod that I was testing them, and I had it go. I don't know. I want to say probably about 40-50 trips before I got off and wasn't fishing as much. Okay, so this is the main line portion. Okay, we got a stop, got this guy, we got the weight. I set my stop up a little bit of weight. Now, depending on current, things like that, this may not be acceptable because the line will want to twist around the braid, and you'll have to put in a piece of leader material. So this way it's stiffer. Although most of the time you can get away without it. And we'll cut this off, and then probably I don't have a sharp enough pair of scissors. Now I don't cut them real short. Man, I gotta get some sharper scissors. Okay. So that's the casting end of it. Why do I have that there so long? Well, when this is sitting and it's under a tight line, even a loose line, like that, the weight will be on the bottom. Fish will pick it up and take off with it. And it'll have a little bit of time to kind of chew on a little bit and get it inside. And then it hits that little bead, and all of a sudden it comes to a halt. And it's a pretty good screeching halt. And it's enough to help set the hook. It even works with circle hooks. There is a little bit of give, so once it keeps going again, you probably want, if you're not using circle hooks, you're going to want to set that booger again. But it's enough to help out and get that thing heading home. I'm going to take a piece of 30-pound test line, leader. I want a long leader, so I'm going to learn about that. Like, yeah. I snout all my hooks. This is the time of year that the fish are running. They're a little bit smaller, so I'm running a number 1 hook. I normally run a 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, depending on the size of the fish that I'm targeting. But mostly a number 1 or number 1.0 hook is a good size hook to use. And we're going to snout. This is actually called a no knot or a non-knot or something like that. But for doing leader work, I really like doing it. This is a real common knot used by the carp guys in England. So I run it through so that this part is coming out front. And I set this back on the side. I tie a knot in, so this way I hold it and it won't be twisting around. Now you want to look, and you're going to see that there's that little cut, a little gap that's made by closing it. By moving and stuff like that, it'll cut into that. So we're going to cut down the chance of that cutting through that line. We're going to go and we're going to drape the first wrap around it. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a buffer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We just did 11 wraps. And then we're going to go back through and have it come out the way it came in. This is the direction to pull, that when it pulls out and starts going, it gives the most leverage to be able to get it to set, for it to have the hook set itself. This is a circle hook, by the way. Now, I normally have a hook around here. I'll use this because this one's big enough. And we pull it tight. Okay. So now I got my hook set. Come back, cut my knot off, leave a little bit of a tag, just in case it gets in a fight and it needs to slip a little. There's still something there. If I'm fishing for bigger fish, I will actually heat that up, put a little ball on it, so this way, if it does pull, it'll stop right there. Because no matter how tight this is, it'll continue to tighten up. There is a time that I've seen these slip. And now I've got my length of leader set up. Now all I'm going to do is just run it through. And I'm going to tie this down with a polymer. Good solid hook. This, by the way, is 30-pound test Andy Premium mono. If I was concerned about toothy critters, I'd probably go fluorocarbon. I'll tell you what, 30-pound test holds up to a lot of stuff. It takes a lot of teeth to go dig through, to burn through that. And then we pull it tight. On both sides. And once again, I'm going to give it a little slip. Now you should wet this, by the way, to help everything seat a little bit better. But I'm kind of embarrassed to have you seen me slobbering all over this now. So there it is. Well, I'll pull this a little bit closer. My version of the Carolina rig. Bottom rig, however you want to call it. Now, depending on what kind of weight on this I put on this is where it's going to happen. I can fish this in rocks. I can use this with a trolling sinker. I can just use it to drag along. I can use this for fishing for just about any shallow species. It's a good backwater rig, and it being long like that, you get a lot of movement in the current. Depending on the type of bait you use, it'll actually want to float. And I like the longer rigs. For some reason, I don't know why, I like to have a longer one. If the current's real bad, or if I'm going to be using this in a place where the current isn't going in one direction, like in the surf or something like that, I will go ahead now and I will shorten this up a little bit. Sometimes a lot bit, sometimes too much. The only aspect that's a problem with using this system as it is right now is if you're using a spider weight, that's the one that's got the little prongs coming out of it. Then what I'll do is I will add a piece of tubing on either side. Usually just a piece of tubing on the outside part of it and keep this kind of close, just to cut down on the increased chance of tangles. But there it is. That's a great little rig. Catches a lot of fish. It gives you the opportunity to do a lot of possibilities. You can turn around and drag it along the bottom, and you can just throw it out there and leave it sit. Any way you look at it, it's going to catch a fish. If you like this little demonstration, go ahead and mash down on a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, well, give me a thumbs down. If you have a comment, complaint, question, or anything like that, leave it down below. I will answer you. If you want to see more of this, or a woodworking video, or you want to see my most beautiful and loving wife, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll let you know the next time another video comes out. And until then, y'all have a real nice day.